It's got to feel good today to be on the Audible, no doubt about it. What a win yesterday by the Miami Dolphins over the Pittsburgh Steelers. No one saw that coming, 30-15, in a game where the Dolphins did just about everything they wanted to do and did it successfully. Welcome to the Audible. I'm Kim Bokamper. Joining me today, number 89, one of the all-time great Miami Dolphin receivers, Nat Moore. Nat, it's great to have you here, man.
Well, thank you for having me. And,
I
love the fact that you're calling me a great receiver, finally.
I've been trying to get you every week, but all of a sudden, Dolphins get a big win over Pittsburgh, and here you are.
Well, I happen to be with Steve Ross.
Your timing has always been good.
Prior to the game, I want to give him credit on the Audible. Yeah. He called it. He said, we're going to win today, we did.
All right. Well, I like that. All right. We're going to field your questions throughout the day. Let me remind you, you can see the Audible on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page on a delayed basis. You can watch it. If you're watching us on Twitter right now, you can go ahead and ask your questions. Just send them in, hashtag the Audible, and you can also catch us on MiamiDolphins.com. It's an interactive show, so go ahead and get your questions in. Nat and I will be more than happy to answer them. But first of all, Nat, let's take a look at that game yesterday and some of the things that we saw out there. Offensively, 474 yards of total offense. You look at Jay Ajayi. 204 yards rushing. Needed, he was sitting there at about $140 something, and then rips off a 62, 64-yarder on his last carry to get over 200 yards. And I tell you what, the happiest guys out there besides Jay was all those guys in that offensive line, those 7 guys that lined up in that offensive line during the course of the day.
It's all about the offensive line. I mean, when things don't go well, who gets all the blame?
Yeah,
the offensive line.
Yeah.
So yesterday they came out and they imposed their will on the Pittsburgh defensive line and linebackers, and that's what it's all about. As you said, first time this year that all 5 of the Dolphin offensive linemen were together, and we saw the product.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I tell you what, it was good to see. I know everyone, there was like a gloom and doom going into that game. Geez, look at what who did we play the week before? Look at what Tennessee did, rushing the football 235 yards. And here comes Le'Veon Bell. Oh, man, this is going to be a rough day. Well, it was a rough day for Le'Veon Bell. It was a tough day for Lawrence Timmons, who was puking in the end zone after a touchdown. It was a rough day for Big Ben Roethlisberger, who got knocked out. How many quarterbacks have the Dolphins knocked out so far this season, man?
Well, that's called getting after the quarterback. But I promise you this here. That South Florida sun and humidity had a little bit to do with it.
Let me tell you what. It was humid. It was one of those days, Nat. How was it rained during the pregame? Got that field nice and wet, and all of a sudden that sun came up, and you could almost see that steam coming off of that turf out there. And those guys felt it, no doubt.
Yeah, you could see the Steelers starting to wilt there in the second half. I mean, the fact that the Dolphins came out early, hit them in the mouth, control the football.
Yep.
You talk about Le'Veon Bell. There's very little he can do standing on the sideline. Each drive was 7-8 minutes. You go down, you capitalize, you put some points on the board. We'd love to see a few more touchdowns down there, but they continue to move the ball, control the game. Yeah,
and you look at it, there's 68 plays, 53 for Pittsburgh. Typically in this season, it's been flipped around the other way. Look at time of possession, 36-30 for the Dolphins, 23-30 for Pittsburgh, and that's part of the reason that defense was – and look, towards the end of that game, when we scored the last touchdown, prior to the last touchdown by Ajayi, took the ball down the field and those guys – and I'm looking at that defense, and I'm going to tell you, they were gassed.
They were tired.
They were gassed. Then they went 3 and out. Then they had come back on the field, and they were standing there, hands on their hips, heads down, sucking wind. So they the job got done, and a lot of it has to go to the credit, as you said, Nat, to that offensive line and the job that they done.
And Bo, they ran the ball against one of the top 5 rush defenses in football. So just a great job by the O-line, and got to give them some props for coming out, taking control of the game early, and then continuing to do it throughout the ball game. So that's the formula that we need the rest of the year.
It was nice to see those Steeler fans that showed up, too. At the end of the game, I was looking up, they were using the terrible towels to wipe their eyes and clean off their tears a little bit. You made the road trip. Wasn't so fun for you, was it? Think about that next time you roll down to this stadium. Hey, let's go ahead and get some questions here. King Edlin, O-line is the MVP. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, you look at what those guys did as a group, and they knew they had the chance for the first time this season to have all 5 guys playing together. And I think, Nat, from the get-go, from the opening snap, you could see that offensive line wanted to dictate the pace of the game, wanted to dictate what was happening on the line of scrimmage, and they did it all day long. Ryan Tannehill rarely got pressure in the game, didn't get sacked. And when you look at the offensive line and what they did in the running game with Jay Ajayi pounding the ball behind him, boy, I tell you what, that's no fun playing defense when you got an offensive line that's moving the line of scrimmage, and then you got a big back that runs hard, pounding the football on you. That's no fun as a defensive player.
Well, and that's the whole key. The backs were running downhill. They weren't dancing. They weren't trying to, get outside. They saw the hole. They hit the hole. And even if it wasn't there, they hit it anyway, and they moved the pile 3 or 4 yards. That's the smash mouth football that we're looking at now.
Yeah, it's good. Good to see. Hopefully we see some more. You're watching The Audible. Kim Bokamper, Nat Moore with you. Send your questions in via Twitter, #TheAudible. You can check us out on Facebook on a delayed basis and on MiamiDolphins.com. I was talking about Stephen Ross. I was down on the sidelines, and he came down with about 5 minutes left to go in the game, and he came down, and I kind of looked at him. He looked at me, and we both had a smile on his face. He goes, "It's not over yet, though." It's not over yet. He didn't want to do it. I said, "Look, I'm with you, man. I'm not saying a word."
Would you say he's a little superstitious?
Look, I was the same. I said, "Look," he said, "Yeah, we're not done yet." I said, "Look, I ain't saying a word. I'm not saying anything until this thing's over." But boy, what a day. And I think, Nat, and look, here's some question from Dylan Tarturo. Says, "Kim, can we continue the performance and turn the season around?" That's the question. That's the question that needs to be answered from this football team, because, Nat, I think we saw yesterday with with your guys in there, with your starting offensive line, and with the defense that we've got out there, that they can win games like this. They played a very good football team and dominated from start to finish. Can we do that? Well, they certainly have a blueprint now of how to get it done. Now they just got to go in week out and consistently play to the level that they played on Sunday.
It's called commitment.
Yep.
If they commit to running the football with the idea that we're going to play action, get the ball down the field, we know that we have playmakers in the receiver position, the tight end position. But if we can pound the football, force them to put 7 men in the box, it makes it much easier when you're trying to throw the football. You're getting Ryan outside, using his athleticism. And I tell you what, yesterday he showed unbelievable patience and great vision downfield. Did not lose sight of the crossing routes coming. One of the throws he made in the back of the end zone, eventually the touchdown got called back, but that was an unbelievable play by Ryan Tannehill.
The other time we came out of the pocket and he had to cross himself, threw it down the field to the big toe. I think it was Marquise Jones or Marquise Gray caught that one, and just a thing of beauty. And you know what? I've said this now. So the one thing Ryan has kind of carried around his neck since he's come to the Dolphins. Oh, he can't throw the deep ball. He can't throw the deep ball. No one's talking about that anymore. Gets protection. Got receivers that'll go down the field, go after the football once in the air, and he's done a very good job getting the ball downfield.
I think he's throwing the ball outstanding. The issue always has been, we were so used to seeing the fly routes and the ability to hit the bomb. Well, that's in that 7-step protection. Well, 7 steps, you get sacked. You don't have time to throw that. So now we're moving him, and we're doing some things that allows him to throw the ball down the field and have that accuracy. And I expect to see Adam Gase continue to build off that.
That's the other thing, Nat. I think when you looked at that game yesterday and what the Dolphins were able to do from start to finish, it really is the first time we've seen 60 minutes of Adam Gase's offense. Called some good plays, had some good ideas out there, but you finally got to see what an Adam Gase offense was going to be about in that game yesterday.
And it was called balance.
Yes,
at the end of the ball game, we ran it 36, 38 times. We threw it that amount of time. But the whole key is keeping the defense off balance by pounding the football, forcing the defense to play the run, and then it opens up the passing. And I must say kudos to those wide receivers blocking downfield.
A lot of blocking downfield. And I tell you, we've talked about Ryan. We've talked about Jay Ajayi. Again, Jarvis Landry, though, another big day for him, making the plays when need to be played and making the impact plays that just kind of lift that whole football team up on the offensive side of the ball.
That's what great players do.
Yes.
They make great players when you need them. And Jarvis Landry has done nothing but that since he came here. So you expect that out of him each and every week. And you're starting to see the other guys pick up their level of play because they follow the leaders.
And you look at Jarvis. He's not running out of bounds. He's gonna run. If he's going to go out of bounds, he's going to run over somebody before he gets out of the boundary. Twitter, here's a question from Twitter. After playing musical chairs Ajayi earned his spot. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, you got Arian Foster out there that certainly is a guy that you have to look at. You have to fill him in there when he has the opportunity to play because he has the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He is a very patient runner, understands this offense very well. But I think for now, you got to feel like Ajayi is the guy that's going to, until he proves differently, I would have to say he's got to be the guy.
I think he is the guy at this point, but by the same token, if we're going to pound the football, you're going to need two to three backs to be able to play. I mean, we haven't even talked about Kenyon Drake. I mean, so at some point, you're going to see him as well. The key is if we're going to control the line of scrimmage and control the football, you're going to need all those guys.
I tell you, it was a lot of fun in that building, and the first win in that building a few weeks ago against the Browns, it was kind of like, we survived that when we walked away. This was the kind of win, and I tell you, if any Dolphin fan was in that building yesterday, didn't walk away with a smile on their face, I don't know what more you need. 30 points you score against a Pittsburgh team that had been scoring they've been averaging 4 touchdowns a game, scoring 30 points a game, and you hold them to 15 points. And the late points, that was kind of just hey, oh, by the way.
But even more so, 25% third down conversion. In other words, getting them off the field offensively.
It's one of the numbers I got here that was amazing, Nat, is you look at going into the game, Pittsburgh was average. They were about 50% success rate on third downs, and the Dolphins were about 26% on third downs. And you look at the situation, Dolphins were 50% on third downs, Pittsburgh's 27%, just a complete turnaround of what that third down percentage. And we've been harping on it since really week one. You got to win on third downs. You got to win on third downs. You win 50% of the times, and you can see how it happens, how you continue to keep drives alive and keep that defense on the field.
Well, you win on third down when you win on first and second down, and it's third and short. It's third and medium. It's not third and long. When you get third and long, a must-passing situation, it's very difficult to win. Well, we flipped the script. Now, they are third and real long, and we are third and short. And in the process, we were 50%, they were 25%.
Yep, no doubt. Good stuff out there. Tank McBride. There's 2 E's, so it should be McBride E, not McBride, I'm assuming. Jay should have started the season. Well, I think they gave Jay every opportunity. Jay's, to be honest with you, there hasn't been a back in the first 5 games that really has gone out and taken the job and wrapped their arm around and said, this is mine, you got to take it away. It's been so, and look, they've tried all different guys. They've gone through 4 different running backs, 5 different running backs, given the opportunity. But certainly now at this point, you're seeing the field narrow down to the players.
Let me put it like this. Ajayi is now earning the right to be the guy.
Exactly.
Now, up until this point, he had not earned it. Right. He had not shown us what he showed us yesterday. So all 4 guys, or 5 guys to be honest, because of Isaiah Pete, all were in that mix. Yep. Well, yesterday he put his best work out there. And he's got to continue.
Now
One
he's
game don't make your start.
No, but it's his job now until someone takes it away from him, or unless he spits the bit somewhere along the road here and doesn't play to that level. He's got to set a standard out there that he's got to reach for. He doesn't got to rush for 200 yards every game, but he's got to run the way he ran in that game with the attitude that he ran. If he does that all year long, then who knows where he can go.
And he didn't put the ball on the ground. Nope. If you remember early in the year, as he tried to run tough, the ball came out. He put it on the ground. Coaches are not going to trust you if you put the ball on the ground.
But a lot of that, Nat, is coaching. And, you watch these coaches out here, and I watch the coaches and talk to them. When these guys leaving the ball on the ground, they're working. And I see guys carrying the ball. I see guys when they're about to get it. They're either putting another arm on it or they're tucking it away. And to me, that's all lessons learned from coaches over the weeks when you're trying to get these guys to be where they're supposed to be and to play knowing that someone's going to be trying to rip that ball out of your hand every time you've got it in there.
Well, Danny Barrett is a great coach that's coaching the running backs, and, he teaches them to carry it high and tight, but even more so with the problems that Jay Ajayi has had, he now realizes that when he's going in there, even as strong as he is, that they can still get it out if he doesn't put both arms over it. And if you notice, he covered up, gave himself up when he knew he was going down. But when he had a chance to bust it through there, he went through there with authority.
Yeah, no doubt. It was good stuff. You're watching the Audible here. Kim Bokamper, Nat Moore with us. You can send your questions on Twitter. Just hashtag the Audible. We'll get them and we'll answer them as we go along. Also, you can see it on a delayed basis on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page as well as MiamiDolphins.com. Robert, 1979-69. If Miami plays physical against Buffalo, does Miami lose that label of being soft? You know, Nat, I don't think Miami's been playing. I don't think the Dolphins have been playing soft all year long. I just don't think they've been consistently doing each guy doing his job and doing it the way it's supposed to be done. I would say they've been probably less disciplined than soft. I don't think they've been a soft football team. I don't think the effort has been an issue on this football team. But I think just doing your job and being disciplined with what your job is. So I think if they do that, forget soft, hard, tough, physical, whatever you want to do. I think they do that. I think if they play their jobs to the best of their ability and stay disciplined, I think that's where the success comes from.
Well, I think it's a commitment first, and then I think it's trust second.
Yep.
Trust your teammates
Yep.
that if you go do your job, they're going to do theirs, and that's going to be enough.
Yep.
I mean, everything is committing to whatever the task is.
Yep.
If we're going to run a dive in the 4-hole, you know what? We're all committed. Now, we just got to get movement,
Yep.
and we got to trust the back's going to hit it up in there properly. I mean, a lot of the problems they had early on was not having the chemistry together. I mean, I'm telling you, putting Mike Pouncey back in the middle where he's making the calls and he's making sure everybody's going in the right direction. Anthony Steen, excuse me, did a phenomenal job for a young guy coming in. But having Mike back in the middle, controlling everything, is a tremendous advantage. And now we're starting to see that they can run the football. There's a commitment to running the football. And I don't care who you play. If you make that commitment, you know, you might not have success in the first quarter. You might not have success in the second quarter. But if you keep pounding, eventually you knock that wall down.
You do. And when you excuse me, when you make that commitment, the guys that buy into it the most are the 5 big guys up front.
And they love it.
Because that's what they're all, and they love it. The more you run, the more you pound it, the more physical it gets. That's been their mentality since they were in high school and started playing the game to where they are right now.
Well, you don't sign up to be an offensive lineman to back up and get hit.
No.
You sign up to be an offensive lineman to move forward and drive somebody in the ground. So, you know, the more we run the football, I think the better this offensive line is going to get.
A lot of guys played well. Ajay played well. I thought Branch did a good job out there. All the tight ends contributed. And speaking of tight ends, Deion Sims, he's going through the concussion protocol, so hopefully he gets back. He had that last year or 2 years ago that bothered him a little bit. But speaking of Deion Sims, you talk about a guy that given the opportunity is taking hold of it. I love seeing him out there because he blocks, he does everything, and I think he had to convince himself that he was a better receiver than he thought he was, because the coaches have believed in him all along that he could be a very good receiver.
Well, coming out of college, you know, he was not known for receiving. He was known for being a blocker. He was much heavier. You know, he's trimmed down. He's got the offense down pat. I mean, he's a guy that gives you everything you want out of a tight end. No, he's not going to be the guy that catches a bunch of touchdowns, but he's dependable. He's the guy that does his job every play. And getting him back this week against Buffalo is going to be critical. I mean, when you start to look at the guys that we've got, Marquise Gray, and we just brought back Dominique Jones, I think his name is. You know,
Marquise Jones.
We
have a Marquise and a Marquise. And I'm not sure which is which.
Well, I thought it was Dominique, but either way, Dominique came back 1 week, but he had been in training camp, and he played a vital part of the game.
Big body, too.
And he's a tremendous blocker. So it helps the process of what you're trying to accomplish.
Twitter, how about Maxwell? 2 players who got benched turned it up this week. You know, I think Maxwell certainly played the best game that he's played early on. I think he made a couple little, could have tightened up a little bit, but when they needed him, when the game was tight and they were going to Antonio Brown, made 2 or 3 big plays over in that far sideline to knock the ball down. And you got to feel good for Byron Maxwell for that.
I feel good that he didn't sit there and soak. You know, he realized that he had been struggling. Things weren't going well. He got benched. Well, Howard goes down. Now he has another opportunity. What do you do with that? And it almost looks, Bo, like he's better suited to play the left corner than the right corner. His natural inclination is to turn back, to his left. Where when he's on the other side, it's very seldom is he able to make the turn and play the ball. So he did a great job of playing the football, not just playing the receiver, not getting called for interference.
It's right. You know, you're watching the Audible here. Kim Bokamper, Nat Moore with you. Send your questions in via hashtag the Audible on Twitter, and we'll go ahead and answer all the questions we can. Sally Cheesecake. We'll get some good names on here, Nat. And that's not even the best, Nat. The best is yet to come. I don't know if you're going to catch it, but the best is yet to come. Is the game? Is this game what we should expect from Tannehill? Game management. You know, I hate that term game manager, because I don't care who you are. Every quarterback in the National Football League, at some point during a game, manages a game. Manages what you're doing. I mean, I just game management to me. I don't.
It's called making good decisions.
Yes, exactly.
Where to throw it, where not to throw it, not turn the ball over, not give up the sack.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that, when they were thought of as quote unquote game managers, won a lot of games.
Yeah. No.
I mean, Joe Flacco won Super Bowls as a game manager.
Let me ask you a question. You played with Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Dan Marino, one of the great passers of all time, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. At some point, he had to manage the game.
Well,
right? At some point, he had to stand back there and manage the game out on the field. He didn't have someone speaking in his ear.
No.
He didn't have, he had to make his changes at the line of scrimmage himself. At some point, he has to manage the game. Was Dan Marino a game manager?
No, he wasn't a game manager, but
under the
some
terms
point,
that people
you
call
have to decide, do I throw this ball?
Right.
Do I take this chance? There's a lot of what they call riverboat gamblers.
Yeah.
But riverboat gamblers get you beat.
Yeah.
In crucial situations, they will try and make a play that, you know what, you shouldn't have tried that.
Yeah.
And when one of these other guys do that, we jump all over.
Right.
I'd rather see guys make good decisions, not put the defense in bad position, and then let's line up and play again.
You look back in the NFL, and Brett Favre is probably a pretty good example of a riverboat gambler back there.
Yeah.
But that was 17. He played for 17 years. He's been out of the league for 3 or 4 years now. Mm-hmm. That's 20 years ago.
Right.
You could be you guys would play that. The game has changed now. I think you look at basically every quarterback in the league. Whether it's Drew Brees, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Carson Wentz, or any of these guys out. They all play the game pretty similarly. They're all trying to manage the thing, do this. So that whole term. Let me ask you a question. Should we expect games like this from Tannehill all the time? If he gets the protection and the blocking up front, then yes, I think we can expect to see more games like this from Ryan Tannehill. But I just don't buy that whole game manager label that player, because you know what it means to me. What it means when someone says he's a game manager means he's not very good in their minds.
Well, I think the protocol is they think that that's a guy that can't stand in the pocket and just wing it. Part of winning football is figuring out what your team can do, not just what the quarterback can do. What can your team do? And in the process, if it means moving the pocket, hey, they did that with Joe Theismann. They went to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
If it means that you're going to sit back there and you got ample protection and you can stay clean and throw it down the field, that's fine too. But it means not turning the ball over, putting the defense in bad situations.
Exactly, no doubt about that. HMALPA, I'm not sure what that means or what it is, but I'm getting it out there. Just trying to let you know that we're answering your questions here. Branch looked great. What happened to Mario Williams? Well, Mario Williams, Coach Vance Joseph came out in the middle of the week, said, hey, guy needs to play better, needs to play harder, needs to be better at what he's doing. And so he kind of rode the pine a little bit. And Branch, as I said, Branch was one of the guys I thought really played well during the course of the game.
Well, but I think the whole defensive line played well. At times, we tend to look for one guy to make a play.
Yep.
Sometimes it's not meant for him to make the play.
Exactly.
Mario Williams slides inside, he slides to the left, he goes to the right. He does whatever the team asks him to do. We're just so used to him being such a great player in the past. We're looking for sacks and this and the other. Well, that's not what the team's always asking him to do. And the one thing about this defense is they're running guys on and off the field all the time. It's 8 guys that are giving you as much as they can give you each and every play.
No doubt. Twitter, Culliver coming back soon. I think he's eligible to come off the injury reserve this week. I would imagine he'll begin practicing this week. We're 6 games in, right? Mm-hmm. So 6 games, so he should be able to start practicing this week. I don't know how long it would be before he's incorporated in as a cornerback. I don't know how long that's gonna take him.
Well, I think they have a pretty good idea. They have a pretty good idea of what his skill set.
Yep.
I would doubt to think that they would want to rush him into the game. Right. Without him getting some work with the team, getting some reps. I mean, as you know, they can only put on pass once a week. Yep. So it's not like he can just walk out there and all of a sudden he's ready to play. Yep. So the process is going to be they're going to play with what they got and eventually work him in.
Exactly. But I think this is the week he can get out and practice and they make a decision roster-wise as they go along. Here's another one, my El Chapo Jr. El Chapo comes in. He's part of our gang here that chimes in and asks questions. You see Cam Wake getting more. I don't know if that's the El Chapo that's Junior. That's but anyway. Do you see Cam Wake getting more playing time as the season goes? Well, he certainly got more playing time yesterday, and I know the coaching staff, especially with the injuries to the linebacker. 2 weeks ago, the game prior to this, they used him as a Sam linebacker, and at times they had 5 defensive linemen at the line of scrimmage because Cam would get down a 3-point stance and line up over the tight end. So yeah, I think Cam's going to get more. I think for Cam himself, I think he was always comfortable with his ability to play through the injury that he had, the Achilles tendon last year. But I think the team wanted to kind of work him in slowly. But I think now, Cam started yesterday, played well yesterday, had 1 sack and was harassing Big Ben quite a bit. But I think he's ready to go, and I think you'll see his playing time continue to increase. I know he wants it to increase because I talked to him after the game yesterday, talking about being a defensive lineman, you need to be in the rhythm of the game. You need to be in the field because you need to get a feel for that guy you're playing against. Yeah. How's he setting? What is he doing? What's the guard inside him doing? Is there a space where I can go inside? You got to figure those things out, and it's hard to do it when you're coming in once every 4, 5, 6, 7 plays, depending on how your offense is doing.
Yeah, I think you got to give Vance Joseph some credit for coming up with the scheme where he could put 5 defensive linemen out there, knowing that Cam Wake is athletic enough that he could stand him up over the tight end. Yep. He could do a whole lot of things and still bring him. It's nothing but bringing a Sam Blitz. Yep. So it didn't change the defense. It just meant he got his best players on the field. And I think we're going to see more of that.
Now, one of the other things that was nice about yesterday's game, and it's always nice, Coach Shula was out there before the game. It was great to see him out there, and a lot of people always ask me, "How's he doing? How's he doing?" He's doing very well right now. I talked to Mary Ann, and she said, "You know what? He's feeling great. He's doing great." So that's a good thing. But I saw you were with him when they unveiled his picture there, I guess, which I think it's fabulous. I think the thing's beautiful, but I think he was a little too close.
Yeah, he was a little too close. He couldn't really see it. He goes. So you had to back him up a little bit. And now he could see it. And then once we took a picture with the camera where he could really see it, he goes, wow. Yeah. He was blown away. He loved it. It was just that early on, it was hard for him to figure it out and see himself.
You know what? I hadn't seen it done. And so after the game, I walked by because by the 72 Club, I kind of walking out that way.
Kind of fitting, right?
And so I kind of turned and looked at it. And then I backed up and looked at it. And then when I backed up and looked at it, I can see it there. Yeah. And you know what you see when you back them and you see it? That look that you've seen, that look that I've seen, that look that everybody that's put on a Dolphin uniform when he was here has seen that look at one time or another. And it's not a look you want to see too often. I know that.
And before we unveiled it, right? He's sitting there and he says, "Well, what is that?" And I say, "It's you." Yeah. He goes, "Does it have the jaw?" I go, "Yeah, it's got the jaw."
It's definitely got the look, no doubt about it. Oh, yeah. I remember talking to David Shulin a while back, and I was talking to him, and I said, "Hey, do you think? Did you see?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It's the look. It's the look." And
everybody's seen it.
But I got to tell you, Nat, it was great seeing Coach Shula there. And what's amazing is I stand there on the sideline before the game, waiting to do the sideline stuff, and so I'm standing there watching. Mike Tomlin comes over. All these guys come over. Players come over. Coaches come over. Everyone wants to come over and say and pay their respects to Coach Shula. And it's really it really is one of the great things to see on game days when the coach shows up down on the sideline?
Well, I think it's just a tribute to what he has accomplished, both 347 wins, the winningest coach in football history, and a guy that did it the right way. And when you look around and you see all the former players that played for him, how well they're doing, what they're doing. I mean, he was not just a great coach, he was a great man that basically guided us into our next job, our future.
Doubt.
So
look, there's a lot of good things about him. There's a lot of things that I've done in my business life and since I stopped playing football, in my family life, and where a lot of the judgments and decisions I make go back to things that I learned from him, preparation, all the different things that you learn from him. Now you put them into play in your life, and I think that that every guy that's ever played for him at one point or another in their post-career life is kind of, whether they know it, whether they do it, knowingly or not, have relied on some of the lessons learned from him going forward. And each and every guy that's played with him really owes him a great deal of gratitude for what we were able to accomplish and learn.
Well, I mean, success is there's no secret. Hard work, dedication,
it doesn't
perseverance,
come easy.
Being willing to go the extra mile, all those things that, he taught you and he pushed you, preparation,
don't get me wrong now.
There
were times when you go, man, that's a SOB right there. But you know what? It was hard playing for him. There's no question it was hard playing for him. But when you look back,
that's when you really understood.
When you look back, you know what? You look at all the wins you racked up. Yeah. You look at all the big games you played. You look at all the Monday night games you played. You look at all the primetime games. You look at all the playoff games. You look at AFC Championship games. You look at Super Bowls, and you say, you know what? It was worth every minute of it.
I made a mistake once, and you'll appreciate this. I said, Coach Shula is the greatest coach in football, Monday through Saturday. He goes, what? I go, Coach, we win because of what you do Monday through Saturday. Organization, preparation, getting us prepared, and then trusting us to go do the job, and allowing us to change stuff you sent in.
Well,
that's why it was so great.
It's funny because on Sunday he was a different man than Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday.
Well, you didn't want to go see him on Sunday.
No. You want to avoid him at all costs on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
If you were talking to him on Sunday, it wasn't a good situation. It wasn't a good situation, no doubt about that. All right, Nat, been a pleasure having you, man. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again another time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This has been the Audible. Kim Bokamper, Nat Moore with you. We'll be back with you again on Wednesday. Until then, have a good time.